Luffy's pirate tip of the day. If they touch your hat, f***ing impale them.
We've got 7 crew members here to have an adventure. Cross the Grand Line with you.
Woohoo!
We'll cross the Grand Line and have a grand time as we make our dreams come true.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll ride the knock-up stream to achieve our dreams. Together we watch season 3.
Yeah! Start the show.
Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line. Welcome to episode 51 of King of the What Now, a podcast where we discuss the anime One Piece. I'm the ghost on the podcast, Kat, and I am a bounty hunter trying to get revenge for my lost village.
My name is Joel. I'm the host. I'm a longtime fan of the One Piece series, and I am a participant in a race for treasure.
And I'm Curtis. I'm the co-host and One Piece novice, and I am a raging cyclone here to destroy all of the pirates.
Oh, very nice.
No!
I was actually going to say I'm overly fond of my boiler, but I wasn't sure if that was what you were going to go for, because you wouldn't tell me.
Oh, well, no. Sorry, you would have been... I knew you weren't going to guess what I was going
Nobody
for.
touch my boiler. It's precious to me.
So we just watched a movie.
Yes, the 4th One Piece movie, which I have seen translated as Dead End Adventure. There's a couple of other places that have translated it slightly differently, but I believe Dead End Adventure is what the wiki calls it, and it is also the most, the one I see the most.
Okay, so Dead End Adventure, 4th One Piece movie. Curtis, can you give us a summary?
I can try. Let's do it. Okay. When we see our adventurers, they are upon an island in a bar, and they are guided into a secret cavern behind the bar, where there are many more pirates, and they find out all these pirates are here for a great race, a great pirate race, called the Dead Ends Race. So, they sign up, because of course they do, and they're going to win, and they would win 300 million berries, which is the only reason Nami agrees. So, they... Weird pause.
They weird pause.
Yes.
Okay, that's in the summary. So they join the race.
Yes, they join the race. The person who is expected to win is General
Gasparde.
Thank you. I was gonna say Gaspada.
That's from Bleach.
Yes. So General Gasparde is expected to win. He is an ex-Marine turned pirate. He and Luffy end up having a beef because of pre-race pirates. Or
Pre-race.
Right before you go for your big race, watch out for the pre-race pirates. They're there to steal your carbs. As you try to load up on carbs, they will steal them, and then you won't be able to run very well.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a fight before the race, so it was a pre-race fight amongst pirates. Luffy doesn't like the general as a result. We also meet a character who is a bounty hunter whose name I've already forgotten.
I will look at my sticky notes. Shiraya sounds right?
Shiraya, that's it. Named Shiraya. And he also wants to kill the general for other reasons, which we will discover later. So they start the race the following morning. The race begins by going up the mountain, which we've never seen before.
No, never before. And there's 2 giants whose names are not similar to Broggy and Droggy at all. It's like Bobo and
Pogo.
Something at Pogo.
Pogo is the other guy, and I don't remember what the first one is.
But I don't know. And there's a fish pirate who's related to Arlong. He was Arlong's rival. There's a lot of nods and callbacks to
there's like,
episodes.
hey, remember all these other people? Yeah, and then they all die. We don't care about them.
Yeah.
So they start the race. They go up this mountain. They go down a waterfall on the other side. They get out to sea, and they've been given an eternal log pose that goes to the finish line. So they're all racing to the finish line. It turns out the general and the bookie are in cahoots, and they...
Curse did a very funny finger gesture, but it's probably not the one you're thinking of.
Anyway, I mimicked his finger gesture and he burst out giggling, and that's why we are now distracted from the summary. They're in cahoots.
They're in cahoots. And they, so the bookie took all of the money and ran, and the general, handed out he gave the bookie fake log posts to hand out to the contestants. So everyone's going to the wrong island. The wrong island, which is a Marine base. So they all go there and instantly die when the Marines shoot them and kill them.
Mm-hmm.
The Straw Hats almost get there, and then they turn around when they figure out that it's a trap, and they go back. And apparently they find the
Gasparde.
Yes, Gasparde. Thank you.
Even though they explicitly said they wouldn't be able to do so without a log pose.
They said, how will we find him? He said, Chopper will smell him. And it was like, oh, okay. I guess that's how we find things now on the Grand Line.
Yep.
So they find him, and when they get there, we have
Shariah.
Yes, Shariah's already there. Shariah wants to kill the general because when Shariah was a kid, the general destroyed his town and killed his sister.
You can't see the air quotes, but they are strong air quotes.
Strong air quotes. Very strong air quotes, because on the general's ship is an old man and his quote-unquote granddaughter, or grandchild, because it's implied, like, you find out that it's a girl, but like the whole movie, we're like, oh, it's a little boy, and then it's like, oh, no, it's not. It turns out that this child was adopted by the old man when he found her floating in a river during that same fight that Shariah lost his sister in. So it's his sister.
What?
Yeah, I know. But they're all on the same ship.
And how are they secretly related to Gasparde? Where does he factor into this? Is he the crazy uncle that you kind of stay away from? Is he like a cousin you only see at the family reunions?
Yeah, I think I think he's just, he's like the brother of the old man. Or I don't know.
Gotcha.
No, so when he destroys the town, at the harbor is this fancy ship with a boiler in it so it can go faster. And the old man is the person who runs the boiler on the ship. And Gasparde takes over the ship because he wants it. And then I guess the old man just comes with the ship because he loves that boiler. He has like an undying passion for this boiler.
He made it very clear. Somebody went to destroy the boiler and he went, "Don't you touch her."
Yeah, calling it a her is interesting. And also, yeah, he was on his deathbed and rallied just long enough to scare someone off. But then when it became evident they weren't going to destroy the boiler, he collapsed again. That's all the energy he had in him.
But it's okay because he destroyed it himself to help take out the general. So, final battle scene. We've got Luffy gets onto Gasparde's ship. I glossed over the fact that Shariah tried to attack the general.
And yeah, got beaten pretty badly by a man named Needles.
Yes, I forgot about Needles too. He got defeated by Shariah, and then Shariah got defeated by the general. And then Luffy comes to finish the job. So Luffy gets there. The kid whose name I've forgotten gets off. No. The kid, he was with the Straw Hats. I forgot about that. Man, this is like a weird mess of a summary.
Not at all succinct, but I like what you're doing, so continue.
Okay, so the kid was with the Straw Hats because of reasons that we can talk about later, because I'm not going to backtrack like a fourth time. Comes back to the ship to save the old man. The old man's like, "Don't worry, I'll get off the ship," and then goes and apparently kills himself while blowing up the boiler. That causes the ship to sink, and that puts them in a position where Luffy and the general are both alive on the ship, but it's sinking, and they're having their final battle. There's also a giant cyclone in the background, and Luffy finally rallies and hits him into the cyclone, and then the general dies. They get off the ship with the help of the old man, who rescues Luffy and Shariah and puts them in a lifeboat. And then they catch up with the Straw Hats, and then happily ever after, they don't get their money because the Marines chase them away.
Shariah gets reunited with his little sister.
Oh, yes, there's that too. And then they leave the little sister and Shariah and the old man back on the island because they're not real characters, so they can't continue.
Yeah, they're not allowed to cross that threshold outside of the CGI into the real anime, as we call it.
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask a question, and I want the answer to this to be very succinct. We can expand on our answers later. but would you recommend this to anyone else, or would you sit down with someone else to watch it with them? Catherine.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Curtis.
I would also say no.
Yeah, this was not great. I liked the idea. We are now going into the part where we are expanding on our ideas.
You don't say. Tell me more.
All right.
Expand on that. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But the idea of a bunch of pirates racing is kind of interesting, but we don't really get enough time with any of the other racers to really care. I kind of liked the introduction of Shariah. He seemed kind of enigmatic and kind of cool. And I was wondering if he was going to be a third force on his own ship, and then he and the Straw Hats and Gasparde were going to have like this back and forth triangle. No, he was just on Gasparde's ship from the very beginning and waffling about.
And like his defining character trait is that he's really fast. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a race. He's fast. That makes sense. That doesn't play into it at all. He's not an active participant in the story. I loved the idea of this grand pirate race. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get Mad Max on the ocean. That's amazing. And we didn't get it, and it was lame. So,
yeah, they definitely could have added. There were so many missed opportunities in writing the plot for this movie. Like, there's so many things they could have done. And I think instead they wanted to save a lot of time for things that they considered to be One Piece-esque, like just lots of gum moves and all of that, but they didn't actually make it feel exciting. So like you said, they could have done more with the race instead of having all the competitors basically like disappear right after it starts. Or, you know, they could have, I mean, really the first part of the movie is good.
The setup kind of stuff?
Yeah, the setup is good. It's after, like, basically when you get to the beginning of the race that it just kind of falls apart and it's not that great. The setup is really cool. I like the bar fights and all of that. It's like I don't know. It's very interesting piratey. So
yes. I think they did a pretty good job with Gasparde's introduction when a big brawl breaks out in this pirate den. They don't give a name to this location, and then he's in the corner and he's like, what are you doing here? And one of his subordinates freaks out and is eventually killed or whatever. He seemed pretty intimidating in that, but then he was just kind of more of the same. I was thinking about this. I was going to say during the episode, hey Curtis, if you're ever watching something and you're wondering if it's non-canon, ask yourself, is the bad guy completely one-dimensional and only interested in power? But the more I think about it, that's kind of what Wapol and Arlong and Crocodile were. They're also these guys who think that, oh, I just need more power. But there's something more to them. We're going to get more on Arlong a little bit later, kind of flashbacks that flesh him out a little bit more from the perspective of other fishmen, spoiler alert. But there was still a certain level of character growth to them as they faced the Straw Hats, like Crocodile descended into madness and Arlong became super angry and wrathful. But Gasparde was just kind of like, I could beat you at any time. And at the end of the battle, he was like, I could beat you at any time.
I think it was dumb that they introduced kind of a creative devil fruit power for him. He had the candy fruit, or the ame no mi. But they didn't do anything creative with it. He just made sticky spikes.
Yep.
Yeah. It was like a weird mixture of Crocodile and Chopper and I don't know. Like it felt very like, oh, we've kind of seen this before.
Yeah.
Luffy literally used Gum Axe to him in the head. He literally tried to eat part of Gasparde after he turned into the candy stuff. And those are blow for blow from the Luffy versus Crocodile round 1 fight in the desert out of Rain Base. I made a comment about this, but this movie really borrows super heavily from other moments in the anime. They mention Reverse Mountain. They have Zoro blocking a bunch of swords that looks exactly like Morgan back in like episode 2 or 3 of the anime. There's a shot of Sanji and Zoro taking out guys on a ship, and it looks like it's from that first opening. I'm all about an homage, and I'm all about like, hey, do you remember this? Or like showing how their techniques have advanced, but it really just felt like they just traced over that and gave it a different background.
How about the random Sea Kings that were in it for like 15 seconds?
Yep.
They were all the ones, for those of you who don't feel like watching this movie, they were all the Sea Kings from the original opening. So there was the really big black and white one, and there was the weird puffy head bird looking one.
And he did the same thing. He reached up into the nose and tickled its nose, and then it sneezed, and it was like, yeah.
Yeah, One Piece does really good callbacks when it's Oda, because as we've discussed before, Oda has some magic touch for every story that he touches, because this had the elements of a One Piece story, but it didn't feel like a One Piece story. But Oda can do those sorts of callbacks much better in a much more fulfilling sort of way.
I do wonder if we could trick ourselves, right? If we didn't know a movie was fake or filler, if we thought it was written by Oda, would we like it? Because I've been thinking a lot about how I really like Film Gold as a One Piece movie and as an anime movie in general, and I don't know if it has more substance to it than the movies we've seen and not liked.
I don't want to get into too many details, because if we get to that episode and Curtis remembers my commentary on it, but I would say at least the villain has a little bit more dimension to him, and they spend longer trying to set up the environment that they're in. This guy is scary because he's scary, and his motivations are to become stronger because he wants to be stronger. You know, there's nothing to him.
What would you guys have done to improve this movie? Curtis, I'm going to start with you.
I would have done more with the race. Like, we don't need as much of watching similar fight scenes that we've seen before. Like, so you probably, as much as I like the setup, they probably could have shortened the setup just a little bit. Kept in some of the meat and potatoes, but got rid of a little bit of it just to save time. And then, like, done more with the race. Had that be like the more focal part of it, and then have like a battle at the end between Luffy and Gasparde. But I don't know, it was just kind of weird. Like, it felt like nothing in the middle really mattered. It just, stuff happened, and then he got to Gasparde, and then that was kind of it, right? So I just didn't... more racy things. Like, I'm thinking like wacky races sort of things, right?
100%, yeah.
I think that maybe what you could do is, instead of having this crocodile ripoff with his Mr. One ripoff in the form of knives, let's go back to that playing card trope we had in the second movie, I think that was, where they had like
the Joker,
Queen and the King, the Joker. Have a ship of a small crew, not this big, I have 50,000 nameless soldiers under me, and then have them take an early lead, and then have him send, or she, have a female villain, I don't care, but send the minions one at a time to mess with the Straw Hat. So the first thing that happens is someone shows up who has the power to stop the Going Mary's like forward motion or something, and they have to defeat this person who's on their ship in order to keep moving. And maybe it just so happens that this character who incapacitates them at the beginning has like a really weird power, so you can't just punch them like Luffy's really good at doing, but maybe they have a weakness that someone really smart like Robin or Nami could find, or Usopp. Maybe the three of them could work together using their brains. And
right, give other characters a chance to shine.
Give characters a chance to shine. Give more like wacky racist sort of situations that aren't just directly pulled from earlier One Piece content. And give them all just like really weird, wacky devil fruits. Imagine someone who basically had like the portal fruit, and they're on the Going Merry, and they're laughing, and every time Luffy tries to punch him, they redirect the punch so it hits Usopp, and Usopp keeps falling over, and every time he's like, I'm gonna join the fight, he gets hit by like Sanji's warping kick or something. He's just like, God dang it.
Oh no. I really like all of those ideas. Obviously, my perfect movie would have been more of a Mad Max wacky races style thing as well. There's a rule in a lot of good horror stories or movies that kind of applies here, and it's you don't show us the monster. And so I think for this movie specifically, what I would do is I wouldn't have them meet Gerharde at the beginning. I would have, maybe they're talking about him and they're like, oh, I wonder what's going on with this favorite to win. And I would have him looming as a shadowy figure in the back who you never actually see. And then there'd be a big, huge black ship off in the distance that they keep trying to catch up to. And you wouldn't reveal them until it was like absolutely the most dramatic time to do so. Maybe they had a stowaway on their ship at the beginning, and it turns out that he's the captain of that ship and has been the whole time.
Oh, sure. I really like that. Another change you could make is you could play up the rivalry. I don't even know if that's the right word, but between Luffy and Jiraiya. Like I said, his introduction, I was intrigued. I've only seen, I think it's the 10th, 11th, and 12th movies. It's Film Gold, Strong World, and Z. Thank you. But when he first shows up, he seems very food motivated, and he and Luffy clash because Luffy's taking his food. And then Luffy's fighting some bad guys, and this guy who doesn't have a devil fruit can hold his own. So maybe that's what you do, is you set up a playful rival who also wants to win the race, and they and Luffy keep going back and forth about like, I'm better, no, you're better, and at the end of the movie they have to team up to fight the bad guy.
And I think I would at the very least axe the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she doesn't need to be in the movie.
What was her character arc again? Did she not like pirates? Oh, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Especially if you make the bad guy less of a present figure in the story, focus it more on Luffy and Jiraiya's rivalry. There's really no reason for Jiraiya to have a personal connection to the bad guy at all.
I think what you could do is you could keep the old man and have him on like a ship that Jiraiya owns, and have like Jiraiya's like speediness be attributed towards the steam power on the ship. And like the whole reason he's like, maybe you could still have like that, this old man who works for me or a relative, I don't know, is sick, and I need the money so I can help heal him, sort of thing. Like that could be his motivation for being in the race. But
right, he's kept my ship going this whole time. Now it's my turn to keep him going.
Yeah, and it would be a little bit more interesting, it'd be different. And then also you don't have to have this whole like weird setup for why he wants to like go after Gasparde and like having him reunite at the end. And it's like it simplifies things. We don't really have to worry about the old man too much. Like he can be a background character. So you basically got rid of two characters who you don't really need to worry about as much, and then you can still have Gasparde show up at the end, and like you don't have to see him at the beginning anymore because he doesn't have a personal beef with them anymore.
Yep. I like all of that. I also like the idea of the treasure not just being money. I like the idea of there being a legend of an island that only appears every 7 years, but supposedly only the first person who gets there can claim it. And then that sets up the more mystical side of One Piece that we get from time to time. It adds the adventure flair to it. It gives you more of a reason for Luffy and this other guy to kind of get along, but also still compete. You can do something where, like, the treasure is like some magical bird with 6 wings or something, and Luffy can befriend it because he's really good with animals. It's all there, and it can all be set up pretty well. I had another thought. Luffy.
Well, you're coming up with that. Can I touch on what you were saying about the treasure?
Yes.
Have it be this vague, like, it's a super special prize. And you could show each of the Straw Hats. Like, Nami's like, it must be billions of berries. And Zora's like, it must be a really cool sword. And Luffy's like, it's a mountain of meat. And then they each have their reasons to be involved in this adventure and want to go.
Okay, yeah, I really like that.
For Robin, it's a really nice bookmark.
Could it be the poneglyph?
Here's something that I want in a One Piece movie. I don't know how well this would work, but it's my personal fanfic moment. Let's have a story in which Luffy is not the person who has the answers. In all of the movies we've seen, we meet someone who is incapable of fulfilling their dream in some way. And then Luffy shows up and he goes, well, if you put your life on the line, if you fight for what you believe in, you can achieve it. And I get it. He embodies the perfect ideal of the One Piece world. And because of that, everyone looks to him and he's a force of change. But what if he entered this race and there was a not father figure, but an older figure, a more skilled sailor or something, a better pirate, who is like, hey, you and your crew have a lot of camaraderie, but have you considered this? And I don't know what this is, because it would have to tie into the One Piece theme, but just have Luffy kind of suck at the beginning of the movie in terms of not being able to beat the bad guy or whatever, or overcome something, and then at the end, Luffy has an arc.
He learns from the people around him. That would be good. I also like the idea of Luffy not being in the movie at all. I like the idea of the crew getting separated somehow, and say Nami, Usopp, and Chopper are the main characters, and they're the ones who use the lessons they have been learning from Luffy to inspire other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could, if you incapacitated the main 3 fighters and just let the rest of the crew do the race, it could be very interesting.
Yeah, I would love that. And you would also be able to have a really cool moment if Luffy were somehow captured by the bad guys. You could have, in this case, I guess, Gasparde being like, I'm so evil and strong. What are you going to do now? And Luffy would be like, my crew's going to kick your butt, old man. I have no idea what you're talking about. They're strong. But I do want to point out a quick shout out to the folks at Piece Together, our rival podcast. We haven't name dropped them in a while. Go check out their show if you love One Piece commentary. They pointed out that Tashigi during Alabasta and Nami during Arlong Park were not the agents of change. They were not the ones to defeat their obstacle, because it was more of a character moment for them to learn to let other people fight for them, which I think is why Luffy always ends up being the strongest. Also, it's shonen rules. You don't want the main character to be weaker than someone else. But I mean, spoiler alert, Luffy was weaker than Crocodile at the beginning of the series, and he's definitely not on Shanks' level just yet, so you can have strong pirates for him to aspire to, and in the case of a movie, when it's not canon, just have him win by the end of the movie. Arc done.
Right, well, and I don't want to get too, Oda, but you'll notice that the only people who ever have to learn that lesson about letting other people fight for them are the female characters. All of the male characters, if they have an arc similar to that, it's you have to learn to fight for your own dreams.
Yes, I would agree with that. Definitely, I would say one of the weaker aspects of One Piece, and I'm going to continue to say that as a huge One Piece fan, because loving something gives you, not the right, but it means that you care the most about seeing it change for the better.
You're the biggest One Piece fan because you hate it the most.
So, all this talk about us fanficking about this reminded me of our sponsor today, Joel.
Yes, of course.
Do you mind if I go ahead and launch into this?
You just seem so darn excited about it. Go ahead.
So have you ever found yourself in a situation where you just thought you could do something better than the author or than the creator of a TV show or the maker of a movie?
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy, literally every time.
Yeah. So this new product is called Fantic. It's a tick that you put on the back of your neck, and it connects you telepathically with the cosmos.
Okay.
All right?
The
and it lets you...
Cosmos?
Yes, the entirety of the cosmos. But it's a narrow focus on only specific pieces of artwork.
Oh, okay.
You can only do one at a time, and you can rewrite it, and then it will just be that way. Right?
Okay.
So you can write your own fanfic with Fantic. So I have a sample here.
Okay.
Kat.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope.
No.
I'm gonna stick to fanfic.
Okay. Joel.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We here have to offer the highest quality product to our listeners, and if we're unwilling to use the product, however, will we be able to advertise it and sell it?
Okay. So you're just gonna put this on the back of your neck, okay? Yeah. And they promised me that nothing could possibly go wrong. It won't connect you to the wrong pieces of the cosmos or anything.
I can see everything. I know exactly how Sir Galaxikik could have finished his amazing trilogy. He just needed to have the main character realize that sometimes rice is the most powerful form of friendship. That would make everything make sense. It would fit with the motifs and the themes. This is perfect.
Curtis, are you sure this is working?
I'm not sure. I'm a little hesitant to say yes. Joel, I'm going to take the tick away.
It gives me power.
No, I'm pulling it off now. Okay, I'm going to send this back. You might not want to try Fantic yet. It seems like they might have a few bugs left to work out.
Note, a tick is not a bug.
Hey, where are we right now?
The podcast.
We're inside the podcast.
That's correct.
My God, how long was I asleep?
20 years.
Jeez.
Technology's advanced so far now.
It's been 20 years. Is One Piece over? No. The great hiatus of 2039 struck.
Imagine being 40 and still watching One Piece. That'll be incredible.
Us being 40. We're not calling out people who are 40 who watch One Piece, because I think it's great for
all ages.
Would that be incredible or sad?
I think it would be incredible. Like, imagine devoting that much of your life to a single story.
I worry that it won't get finished.
There has been rumors that according to, I can't remember if it's the editor or Oda himself, said that the story is quote-unquote 80% complete. Everyone on the internet, everyone that I've interacted with has said, well, you can't take that at face value. You can't put like a numeric, if you're on chapter 800 and then you say you're 80% of the way done, you can't be like, oh, it's going to end at 1,000. Because so much of this story are like little ideas that Oda then expanded and made bigger pieces. At the same time, there is definitely a end goal, and we are approaching it in the manga right
very
now.
rapidly.
Ooh.
Yeah, the manga is super exciting right now, and I hope we get through the anime quickly and we can transition to being a manga discussion podcast. We talked about what we didn't like in the movie. Did we mention what we did like, or just what we wanted it to be?
Go over that, yeah.
Okay, what were your favorite parts?
I did mention I like the setup.
Yes.
I really liked the bar fights in that. That was excellent. Like I just that whole like aesthetic of them just kind of hanging out in the bar and then getting like Luffy starting trouble and then him going by Nami. What's going on, Luffy? Oh, I'm just in a fight. I'm okay.
Yeah, don't get lost. That was pretty great. I also loved someone comes in and they enter this race. They give the guy like the 2 100 berry coins or whatever. And Nami notices because she has a nose for money. Sanji's completely oblivious because he's too focused on the women at the table. Luffy's too focused on the food. Zoro also catched it and he's just like, they were a pirate. They were 6 foot tall. They had a pistol on their left. He's just so good at like casually observing them like, oh, were you paying attention? I don't know, I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. Like that was a really good Zoro moment. It didn't like feel like it was a stretch for him to kind of notice those things, but also kind of not really be like, I was watching the whole room the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like I said, I liked the idea behind it. The bar fights were fun, like you guys mentioned. I really wanted to like Gerharde? Gasparde. Gerharde is from Seven Deadly Sins, which is not this anime. Gasparde, I really liked his devil fruit power. I wanted to like it. I wish they could have done something with it other than you punch me and nothing happens and I can make spiky things.
Bonus points for the fact that Sanji was able to help without directly kicking the bad guy. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would love a final villain. Maybe we'll get it in the next 5 movies before we catch up to the ones I've seen. But a villain who has like some weird giant armor and it requires all the different Straw Hats to like take the armor off because yeah, Luffy's the strongest, but he also relies on his crew, so I'd like to see a balance of that. Some kind of combo attack that exposes the villain. Maybe he's behind like a giant shield wall and it's the Straw Hats who take it out and then Luffy's the one who runs past it or something.
Combo attacks are one of my favorite things. The other thing that I really liked about this movie was, and I forgot his name again, Fast Boy.
Shiraya.
I keep wanting to call him Shiryu, and that's not his name. Shiraya and Luffy's relationship, it didn't really get as fleshed out as it could, but even their brief interactions of Luffy being like, wow, that guy's fast, and are we gonna fight or what? Maybe later. Okay.
It had a very promising start, but then the seed didn't grow much past the initial sort of a thing. All right, Curtis, if you had to give someone the MVP, and if you were strongly encouraged not to give it to Luffy simply because he's the main character, is there anyone from this movie that you think? We are very tired, folks.
No. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we're very tired, and this movie was not good. Some of the other ones at least had more glimmers of hope in them, I think.
Can I throw a name out there?
Sure.
Sanji. Luffy wouldn't have beat the bad guy if Sanji hadn't been like, hey, try this.
I think it's probably most appropriate. Like, if we were just going off the first half of the movie, I would have given it to Shiraya. Because he had so much promise. He was super cool at the beginning. And then he just didn't amount to anything. And nothing came from that character at all.
I guess you could say instead of the MVP, he was the least valuable player.
Yeah. Either that or, I don't know, the old man for giggles.
He blew up a boat. That was cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He also made everyone think he died. He was pretty badass.
You know what? The more I think about it, I think my favorite scene from this movie, as much as I love the beginning, and the end fight was alright, showing Luffy punching through his opponents. But I think the best one was actually Shiraya fighting Needles. I want to call him Knives.
Oh,
That's what you've been calling him, was Knives.
What?
For the whole podcast so far, yeah.
Okay, if you say so. The thing that I loved was Shiraya has this goal to take down Gasparde. Wow, cool. I am tired. But he gets, like, his arm broken at one point. It's heavily implied, but he continues to fight with it. And this other guy, Needles, also kind of is taking damage, but they keep fighting. But every time you think that Shiraya is down for the count, he manages to jump out of the way at the last second and deliver one kick to the guy's face. And yeah, it was pretty good. We don't normally see that kind of determination from people other than Luffy and Zoro, and I liked it.
It was cool.
Yeah, the Needles fight was good. I think I like the Needles fight better than the Luffy. Fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie did do a good job of incorporating some of the wider One Piece themes. We saw chosen family in the form of the little girl and the old man, and we saw, friends are the most important thing when Gasparde. Thank you. I was going to call him Gerharde again.
Or Giraldi.
The man, when the bad man,
the sticky man,
just call him the general,
kicked the general, there you go, that's canon actually, when the general kicked a crewmate off of his crew because he lost to Luffy, and Luffy was like, I hate you now, there was that element of friendship. So there were some good tie-ins to the overall ethics of One Piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So here's how I'm remembering Gasparde.
Okay.
All right. It's Sparta, but it's a German Canadian saying it. So it's Gasparte. Gasparde.
Okay. German Canadian Sparta. Cool.
I will share a peek behind the scenes. Like I said, I haven't seen any of these movies proper, but I have seen several clips in AMVs on YouTube and such. And so as soon as they said Jasparty's in this, I out loud went, "Oh, Jasparty!" And the other Curtis and Catherine looked at me and they go, "Do you know something?" And I went, "No, I don't know anything." And in my head I was thinking, that's the sticky guy. They throw flour on him and they totally punch him really hard.
They said the thing about the pirate race, and I went, "Oh, Joel's told me about this. This is going to be so cool. There's a pirate race, and it's like wacky race." No, what Joel told me was there was a movie about a pirate race, and I filled in the cool details myself.
Yes. Really quick. This year, 2019, they are going to be releasing the 14th full-length One Piece movie, and it will be getting a release in America, I believe. Shortly after it airs in Japan, or maybe it'll be simul. I can't remember exactly what the schedule is, but it sounds like the setup for this movie, One Piece Stampede, is going to be a treasure hunt / scavenger hunt that pirates participate in. And so I actually saw several tweets that were like, I hope this is like Dead End Adventure, but they don't drop the premise of the movie really quickly. And so, yeah, I hope so too. I hope that we get more wackiness.
I am so excited for One Piece Stampede. I've seen very little of the promotional material because I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but I think it's going to be so good. And coming off the heels of Film Gold, which was amazing, I'm excited for it. I hope we are there as a podcast so we can all go enjoy it together instead of just Joel and I in the mobile King of the What Now studio.
I mean, I could watch ahead.
No.
Okay.
I'm actually curious. I mean, this isn't really a good forum to discuss this because, Chris, you haven't seen any of the promotional details and such, and we want you to, contribute to the conversation. It does, from the one trailer that I've seen, seem like a little bit of a montage to One Piece's greatest moments. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a clip of Shanks giving Luffy the hat, and I think there's Zoro fighting Mihawk at the Baratier, and I think, so it feels like it's going to be more of a trip down memory lane than other movies have been, and I don't know how I feel about that, because as someone who's gone back and rewatched the series a couple of times, I've seen that. I know that scene. I recognize it. But at the same time, I do fully hope that the end of One Piece is kind of a full circle sort of situation where all the little stuff from the beginning ended up contributing to the end.
I suspect the hype will get to you. I suspect you'll hear the music start to play and you'll see Shanks' face and you'll be like, oh my god, it's that scene.
What if the movie is literally just a series of flashbacks? So it's a scavenger hunt, but at each stop, you have to relive an experience of one of your crew members. And so it's just a series of flashbacks.
It just becomes a share circle where Luffy's holding Robin's hand and Robin's holding Chopper's hand. And Chopper's like, and then Dr. Correa.
Zoro tries to make a comment. Nami smacks him because he's not holding the talking stick.
He's like, I hold the sword. That doesn't count, Zoro.
Oh gosh, a Castaway movie with the Straw Hats would be pretty good if they just get stuck on an island. I mean, Luffy's not the type who would stay on an island, but just like a flash forward 1 year since they left civilization. They're just wearing like grass hula skirts and such, and oh man.
Zoro has grown a beard.
Zoro with a beard.
Sora?
No, Zoro with a beard. That would be amazing.
That would
Please
be amazing.
call him by his real name, Zorn. Zorn the Bearded Swordsman.
We may have watched what I'm pretty sure was a janky fan sub, and that's fine. Like, we appreciate the people who fan subbed it, but there were some typos.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't official.
Yeah, they dropped the F-bomb in there a couple times. And I wonder if they actually did in the movie, or...
I doubt it. It's possible. I'm going to spoil a very, very small detail, but it won't matter because you won't know which character did it. The manga, it's canon that someone has flipped someone else off. We have seen a raised middle finger and all the other fingers are down. They edit it in the animated version, though, and so I'm guessing the movie would never go that far.
I'm guessing it was Zoro.
It's Zoro. Zoro flips off Sanji, and then Sanji does the double finger flip, and then Zoro raises both of it, and they just start flipping each other off.
No, Zoro flips up both, plus he has a sword in his mouth. No.
He does his pinky toe.
And then Robin comes in with just like a bajillion.
Somebody draw this for us.
Oh my god, that
Please.
would be great. All right, I think we've pretty much touched on everything that happened in this movie. Shout out to the giants who are very obviously Bragi and Dory clones, who decided that they were going to try and sail their ship so fast they would sail over the island that this race started at, but they miscalculated and didn't make it far enough. They were the third most likely to win, and they offed themselves in the competition right after the start line.
That was
What kind of
great.
writing is that?
Yeah. So many people just died at the very beginning. It was what the heck?
I will say, I wonder if these movies came out before they knew how big One Piece was. Like, obviously it was pretty big if it was getting movies, but I think that they didn't put a lot of attention into the movies because they were like, this is something that's going to sell to a very niche crowd, and we're just trying to, like, fill space or get people's attention or whatever.
Sorry.
I think it seems to me like they're mostly promotional, and they're probably there to sell tickets or like sell copies and sell toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably mostly it.
Yeah, I did learn some interesting anime trivia recently. Apparently, most anime series that are made to promote something else. So like Kaiji, which is a favorite of ours that we've talked about a lot. The first season of Kaiji was made when somebody was doing a live-action movie, and they wanted to promote the live-action movie with the anime, and then the second season wasn't made until they did a second live-action movie.
Huh.
And apparently that's the case for a lot of other animated properties.
I don't think that's necessarily true for the shonen stuff, for like Bleach and Fairy Tail and stuff. I'm pretty sure that they sell themselves.
Less popular stuff, I guess I would say. But I think that the same principle applies for the movie. Like Curtis was saying, it's kind of promotional material.
Yeah, I wonder if people in Japan would take their children to this movie not really knowing what it's about, and you don't really need to follow the series, but maybe you go and you go, oh, there was a guy who could turn into candy syrup. That makes me interested to watch the series now. I also don't know if the anime movie landscape has changed or not. In the last couple of years, Catherine and I have seen Your Name in theaters, the My Hero movie. We saw Film Gold. Broly had a international release. I don't know if back when these previous movies were being made, if they were going outside of Japan, maybe they were kind of like a limited run thing, or maybe they did bring movies over back in the day and I just didn't look for them, but I'm pretty sure at least part of it is that the industry is getting more nationalized, and I think that means more money to put into the
More
movies.
international.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I have a lot of coworkers who are into anime, both mixture of like young and some older ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's becoming more popular in the US now. It's not as niche as it used to be, right?
Absolutely. And all right, does anyone else have any final thoughts?
Next week we're watching another special. That's pretty exciting.
Yes, next week we will be covering... Thank you so much for reminding me. I'm so bad at saying that. There's another special called Once Upon the Great Sea, A Father's Huge, Huge Dream. Unlike Dead End Adventure, for which I had seen at least part of the final battle previously, I've never even heard of this special, so we'll have to see what it's like. We'll have to see if we can even find it. Please support the official release of the anime and the manga that you love. I'm going through and collecting all of the DVDs for One Piece. Clearly that's how we've been watching it. But the movies, the early stuff, hasn't made it to America as far as I can tell. But if Funimation ever decides to bring them over, I will buy the 10-movie pack. But anyways, yeah, so we'll be watching this special, Once Upon the Great Sea, A Father's Huge, Huge Dream, and then we'll be watching 5 episodes of the anime. 148. 149, 150, 151, and 152. So tomorrow, or next week's episode might be even bigger than some of the ones that we've done previously. Here's my final thought. Give me a gosh dang movie where the Straw Hats get trapped inside of a video game and they have to win to get out. I know it doesn't fit in the lore of One Piece, but my god, that would be amazing.
Someone who ate the games know me, and they can manipulate the environment. Oh, that would be so cool. Wasn't there a guy like that in Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yes, there was.
Sick.
Here's a final thought for you.
Okay.
The word for game in Japanese, according to this show, is just like game.
Mm-hmm.
Or, some Japanification of that.
There was I can't remember what show it was, but there was an episode of some show I watched when I was younger, and it was when I first started watching
Anime.
Subbed, sorry, jeez, I get those terms confused. I had just started watching subbed and learning what Japanese voice acting was, and this episode starts, and I don't know much Japanese, but, Koro no desu ka zombie. They don't have a word for zombie. Or pen, I believe.
There are certain things that make sense. Like zombie, it's a Western thing. The one I always tell people when I was in Japan is I was looking for a bottle opener, and the word for bottle opener was bottle opener. Mm. But I refuse to believe that they did not have the concept of game, and they did not want a word for that concept before. Like, they had games, so did they not have a word for those? Do you just call them by the name of the games?
They weren't games, they were battles. All right? They don't believe in this, childhood little, I'm just gonna go play at the park. They fight for life and death over in Japan.
Oh, gosh.
And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are King of the What Pod. King of the What Pod at gmail.com, patreon.com/KingOfTheWhatPod. KingOfTheWhatPod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host. Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.